After months of investigation, Castellero believed he had uncovered an unsavory network of U.S. officials, organized crime members, and intelligence agents. He called it the Octopus. Castellero claimed the Octopus was at the root of not only the Inslaw affair, but also the Iran-Contra scandal, BCCI, BNL, and even the now largely discredited October surprise. In short, just about every major scandal of the 1980s. The deeper Castellero went in search of the Octopus, the more he found himself on intimate terms with shadowy characters. John Connolly, a journalist, said, "Danny Castellero stepped into a world he didn't belong. The type of people that he became involved with lie, just as a matter of course. I think after a while, some of these people don't even know what the real truth is. They lie, and they cheat. These people, they've been involved in numerous murders. They deal drugs, some of them dealing arms. And Danny Castellero thought he could find his way through this labyrinth by himself, and that was a mistake." A week before he died, Castellero told his brother he had been receiving frequent death threats. And when asked by his brother who the threatening people were, Castellero said he didn't know for sure. Castellero said he knew a couple of them. They are the guys he had been working with, such as his contacts. And Castellero said they have been calling him and saying things like, "Look, Danny, you're just getting too close. You're going to get hurt. Back off, Danny." And Danny Castellero said to his brother that he was getting calls in the middle of the night from guys he never heard of, and he didn't even recognize their voices. Castellero told his brother that he was told, "Danny, we know you're in the middle. We don't know where this attack is going to come from, but you're going to die." Danny told his brother, "I'll tell you this, though. I'll tell you this, little brother. When I go to Martinsburg, if something happens to me or if I get hurt, do not believe it was an accident." With briefcases full of notes, Castellero arrived in Martinsburg to meet with several informants and conclude his investigation. He had been tracking the finances of the Octopus and believed one of his new contacts would deliver key evidence on this trip. Michael Riconosciuto said in an interview, "Danny had a source there, inside the IRS, its computer data center, that was giving him hard copy printouts of IRS information on certain specific targets that Danny was after." The day before he died, Castellero met with another source, a source named William Turner, who was a former employee of a major defense contractor. According to Turner, he handed over paperwork documenting corruption that Castellero believed was tied to the Octopus. Within 24 hours, Castellero would be found dead, and Turner's documents would disappear along with the rest of Castellero's papers. In response to the controversy surrounding Castellero's death, authorities in West Virginia convened a formal inquest, including a complete autopsy. The assistant medical examiner for the state of West Virginia told Danny Castellero's brother that Danny had already been embalmed, and that's going to make the autopsy, quote, a little difficult, unquote. And this was actually the first time Danny Casolero's brother had heard of this. And he certainly did not give permission for this to happen. The autopsy confirmed that bleeding from the 12 razor cuts had resulted in Danny Casolero's death. More importantly, the autopsy disclosed evidence suggesting Casolero may not have been alone in the hotel during the final moments of his life. Danny Casolero's brother said he was initially told that there was no signs of any struggle, but there was, on the actual autopsy report, a description of a bruise on the arm and a bruise on the head, which were never accounted for. Additionally, the autopsy mentioned that the tips of 3 fingernails were missing from one hand. Casolero's hotel room had been cleaned the day after his death by a professional cleaning crew, and the workers inadvertently discarded important evidence. The previous day, minutes after Casolero's body had been found, one of the Sheraton housekeepers noticed 2 bloody towels in the bathroom. They appeared to have been used to wipe blood off the bathroom floor. The question of who tried to clean up the floor with the towels has never been addressed by West Virginia authorities. The police reports of the investigation are certainly not professional. Fingerprints got lost. They drained the tub without a strainer. Sloppy work was done all over the place. Journalist John Connolly, interviewed earlier, said that it was most likely he was murdered, much more likely murdered than committed suicide. Even Casolero's funeral on August, Elliot Richardson, said there is not enough evidence that he was murdered. So there should have been much more. There is enough evidence that he was murdered, so there should have been much more intensive investigation than there has been. I don't know why. I don't know enough to be sure. But all that I do know makes me believe that it was much more likely that he had murdered him, that he was murdered, than he committed suicide. Even Casolero's funeral on August 16th, 1981 was clouded by mystery. As the ceremony was drawing to a close, a highly decorated military officer arrived in a limousine. A mourner who was present said that she noticed a tall, stoic-looking black man in full military dress, standing there with this plainclothes type of guy. And just before the casket was lowered into the ground, the military man carefully placed a medal on the casket lid. The 50 people who attended the funeral all conversed later on that day that this military man here was not recognized by any of the people who were at the funeral, or at least no one admitted so. An official inquiry into Casolero's death was concluded more than a year ago. However, Casolero's clothing, wallet, suicide note, and other personal items have been retained with no explanation by the investigators. This is Unsaved Mysteries.